Okay, this is the critical lap. This is the critical lap. Confirm.
Leave me alone. I know what to do.
Welcome to the Critical Lap podcast. Welcome back to the Critical Lap podcast. Daniel, how are you?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. That's it?
I'm in Guadalajara this week, home of our friend Checo Perez.
Checo Perez.
We like
Nice.
Checo. I miss seeing him, but I see his face everywhere here. He looks good on the billboards.
He looks good on the Okay, so you didn't have like dinner with Checo talking about his prospects for joining the Cadillac team in 2026?
He wasn't available. He didn't take my calls.
Yeah. He's got a lot of people calling him right now.
I'm sure he does. Cadillac, maybe?
They want those millions, those 30, 40 millions of advertising dollars.
Yeah. Local friend of the pod here, Manuel, shared a stat with me that he is the best-selling merchandise, or he was when he was, active in Formula One. He was the best-selling driver in the merchandise category, ahead of Verstappen.
Cash cow. There you go.
Yeah.
And as much as we all love our favorite drivers or Verstappen or whoever it is, the teams will take 30, 40, $50 million worth of advertising money associated with a brand. Although I think that was just what he got paid to wear various things. Welcome back to the Critical Lap. I am Reuben, one of your hosts here, a relative newcomer to the sport, a unashamed bandwagoneer. Glad to be here, and still haven't finished this past season of Drive to Survive. I'll just admit it. I'm savoring it piece by piece.
Yeah, savor it and save it for we're at the end of a triple header here, so save it for those dull weekends when there is no
that's right,
motorsport. Yeah, that's what
triple
I'm doing.
Header Drive to Survive. Ain't nobody got time for that. I'm joined here today by my co-host Daniel. Daniel, a little bit more experience than me.
Been around the track a few times. A few times I've been around that track.
I've seen some races.
Seen some races. I've fallen in and out of love with certain different teams, different drivers.
Okay.
I've never broken a television over a Formula One race, but I've had my moments.
Not yet. Never say never. Never say never. Well, good. Well, as we said, we're in the middle of a triple header, so we're glad to have you back. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, thank you for joining us. Please make sure you take a moment, like and subscribe and follow us. Please leave comments. We read those as they come in. Love hearing the feedback. Throw your questions in there, and we'll either get you an answer, we'll guess at an answer, or
we'll make one up.
We'll just ask the question and throw it back out for everybody else to answer. Anyway, we got some news to cover today before we get in. We're getting ready for the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, triple headers. My excitement level just keeps rising. It just gets better with every race. Hoping that we're on a good trend here. Suzuka was a little slow last week at Bahrain, made up for that. If we continue that trend line, Saudi Arabia is going to be one for the history books. So it's going to be good.
I like to think so. It's similar to Bahrain in the 3 DRS zones, but it's not quite the 2-stop type of race or multiple stop type of race that Bahrain is. It is a night race. It's a street circuit. I think at one point it kind of held the title of fastest track on the calendar. I want to say Las Vegas is now, I don't know how they measure it, if it's faster for longer or just fastest top speed overall. It's a very fast track nonetheless. So
yeah, I think I read second fastest to Monza, but you have to assume that at this point the Temple of Speed, old Monza out there, they are ready to take a pickaxe to a chicane if they have to stay at the top of the list. Like
they're not going to lose that status. No.
Yeah. So I've also read that Saudi Arabia, it is noted for being one of the fastest tracks. Has a lot of great fast turns and curves, I guess, or S turns, whatever you want to call those. So we're excited to get into that. We'll kind of break that down in just a little bit. We'll kick off with a little bit of news. Daniel, I don't know if you saw the news on the saga of the McLaren Mini DRS continues, but I think Stella is ready to put it to bed because they asked him about it and he recently replied, "What are you basically what are we talking about? What news are we trying to cover here?" His statement on it was, "We are within the rules. We are performing within the rules. Every other team has had an opportunity to catch up. And some teams have chosen to go with a non-flexible option because that's what works with their car. And we've chosen to go with a flexible option within the rules. What exactly are we talking about? Which I thought was a great that'll do it response.
And I like that. I like that it's like, guys, it like you set the parameters, and we're operating within the parameters. Does it flex? Yeah, it flexes. Okay. Does it work for us? Yeah, it works for us. Okay.
We all have
Did it work for us last
wing.
year? It probably worked for us a little bit better last year than it did this year because you tightened those parameters, but we're within them. So what is it? What's the deal?
Right.
What you got?
Right. Yes, we do have a flexible wing. Next question.
Did Stella use the words full stop in his response? Because back in the day, when a team principal or somebody in a position of authority was trying to answer those sort of controversial questions, they would start throwing in full stop at the end of their sentences to just be like, that's all I'm going to say about that.
I don't think he did. I'll have to go back and look at like the transcript from it. I don't think he said full stop. Stella strikes me as like, he's a pretty easygoing person. He could have just said, if you've got a problem with your car,
yeah. If you've got a problem with your type of car, then you should type of fix it.
Then go. That's right. Yeah.
You should do some sort of fixing.
Christian Horner line. Yeah. Speaking of Drive to Survive, if you've seen Drive to Survive, you've seen that line, even if you haven't followed that closely. But so we'll continue with the flexi wing. And yeah, I mean, same old in Formula One in the sense that all the rest of the teams are welcome to try to catch up and they're welcome to try to do the same thing. If they've chosen not to, I think he's asking a good question, which is there's different setups on these cars. Sometimes having a flexible wing and having that give more is not necessarily a beneficial thing, but comes down to the design of the car.
one of sort of the infamous or firsts to have a very, very visibly like not solid wing was Renault, Alpine. I forget when it started happening. I don't know if it was Renault at the time or Alpine at the time, but their wing would almost just like collapse over a little bit. And then 2 years ago, last year, you would see lots of just back and forth, and drivers behind them would call over the radio and say something's broken on the car or something like that. And it never really turned out to be. So yeah, it's a thing, and it, like you said, it's not the right thing for everybody. In recent history, Alpine hasn't really been the most competitive car, so
nobody cares if their wing is flexing.
So their wing's flexing, but what is it really doing for them, right?
FIA stops by their garage and is like, maybe flex the wing a little bit.
Yeah,
it's okay. I mean, you can have a little flex. We won't check those dots this week.
Yeah.
Give them a break.
And we gave you the pink target stickers because
it's like blend them in. It's okay. Yeah. There's a lot of different setups, a lot of different flexibility on the car. So we'll let McLaren continue. Some other recent news. I have said repeatedly, this is not that hot of a take that I thought that Verstappen would leave Red Bull this year, join another team in 2026. And my guess was Aston Martin, along with, 80% of people who are guessing on this one. Alonso doesn't think so. Alonso weighed in, and I don't want to read the entire article to you. I don't want to go through the whole thing. It's a long. He had a long response, so I'm going to give you my summary. This is Reuben's Cliff Notes on
so give me the Reuben.ai version. Give me the
Reuben.ai version. Is
Reuben
Alonso
GPT.
Doesn't think so because Aston Martin is not performing well enough to get him. That's Alonso. He says it with so much. Well, drivers change teams for a lot of different reasons, and I was competitive at Alpine and I was looking for a championship car, and I was excited to be competitive in Aston Martin in 2023, sort of, and blah, 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 blah. I don't really think Aston Martin is where it needs to be for. I think that's the takeaway you take from Alonso's interview.
Right.
I think Verstappen's looking for something at the front of the line.
And that may be a message to Max to say, hey, buddy, you might hear a lot of promising happening. You might.
I don't know what they're telling you.
The sales pitch might be excellent, but here's the history.
The sales pitch is definitely excellent. Like, that, right? But yeah, listen, from a driver to a driver, careful. Yeah, I think that's probably the case. Aston Martin is struggling, and oddly enough, I went to double check the stats. I thought they were pretty close to the back of the field. Honestly, I checked the stats. They're still fourth from the back. They're in 7th place right now. But that back right now, they've got 10 points compared to 7, 6, and 6 for Racing Bulls, Alpine, and Sauber, respectively.
Yeah,
That's nothing.
And in general, to be behind Haas, what does that tell you? And I'm not saying Haas is. I'm not saying like they carry a stigma from bad years past. I just mean like budget to budget. Compare those two.
Right.
Horsepower in terms of, they got Adrian Newey on the team now. They've just done all these things. They've developed their, let's call it HQ or whatever.
Sure.
Their villain's lair is now, multiple factors bigger than it used to be.
Sure.
Yeah. So
you can't be
something's going on.
You can be slower. You just can't be slower than Haas.
Right. Which, Haas's budget is better today versus previous seasons.
Sure.
But they've kind of done a Williams from, I don't know, 2010 to 2014 or whatever era that was, where Williams was sort of competitive and they were doing it on a pretty tight budget.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of performance, though, in years past, in the Saudi Arabia GP from last year, guess what place Alonso qualified? And also tell me, if you remember this, where he finished the race.
Alonso? I don't remember off the top of my head. I have stats up in front of me, so if I can cheat.
So P4. So, if you want to cheat, go ahead. No one's. If you want to flex your wing a little too much, go ahead.
That's right. I'm within the regulations. Go ahead. Where did he finish?
So Alonso qualified P4 last year.
Okay.
And he finished P5. So it wasn't a fluke like, something worked out, track evolution, etc. Alonso can put in a good lap in any car probably. It was truly like good form for Aston Martin. It was still early enough in the year, second race of the year, not fifth at this point. We're on the fifth one now.
Yep.
So second, not fifth, like this year. Early enough in the season last year that both Red Bulls were competitive. Max P1, Perez P2 in the race result. Perez only gained one spot to beat Leclerc out. Leclerc qualified P2. But Alonso in an Aston Martin right behind the Red Bulls. And the Red Bulls early in the year last year were still the best car.
Sure. Well, everybody thought Alonso was going to be really strong last year because in 2023 he started the season with whatever it was, like 3 back-to-back third place finishes in 2023. Yep. And everyone's assumption was they were going to come back even stronger in 2024. And Aston Martin just wasn't really there last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're certainly not there this year. Struggling a little bit back in P7. I did see, to that point, other news, another interview with Aston Martin, but this time I think the team principal, Andy Cowell, and I did get his name right this time, Andy Cowell came straight out and just said, like, just to take it off the board, Adrian Newey is only working on the 2026 car. And again, you're going to have to take Reuben's AI summary. I'm not using AI. Come on, I'm more professional than that.
No, it's real. It's true intelligence. TI. It's not AI.
No. This is true intelligence. 100% of Adrian's designing time is focused on the 26. Cowell confirmed to the media.
And no one's knocking on his door saying, "Can I get 5 minutes of your time?"
Nobody's bothering him. Yeah. No. But honestly, the context on this is, I think people continuing to hassle them and say, so, you're struggling. Is your hope that Adrian Newey is going to be able to bring some value and help turn around your season? And this is a pretty clear answer of no. And it's probably going to stay this way for the rest of the season. And we're not trying to pull him off the 26 car to help.
And to be honest, I think that's the right thing. Because the 26 car is the Audi, not the... No, I'm sorry. I'm wrong here. No,
he's over... Yeah, Aston Martin.
No, you know what happened in my brain? I'm thinking, no, Max is going to Audi, not Aston Martin.
That's still your... yeah, that's still your assumption, is that he's going to Audi.
Honestly, to speak to that a little bit more, let me ask myself the quick reaction question here. Max has more options than just the other 10 teams on the grid. Max could go and pursue, a motorsport Grand Slam and get into some World Endurance Championship and hit Le Mans. He could get
Sure.
into the Indy 500 on like a little cameo situation. If you remember, Alonso did that during his stint away from Formula One.
Right.
Got the Le Mans victory under his belt with Toyota.
Yeah.
Tried
rack
the
up
Indy
some other
500.
accolades.
Yeah, he's done Dakar. He's done Dakar. I mean, he's
Which
done
car?
what a world champion would do and what you would expect one to do. And I think Max could follow a similar path. It doesn't necessarily have to be in Formula One.
Other drivers have done the same thing, right? So I think
Yeah.
it was it Magnussen took a break and did some of that as well, and Hulkenberg has some.
Yep.
A lot of drivers have other pursuits than F. That wouldn't really surprise me. So can I ask you a question just off the cuff here? This is another quick reaction for you. Every, I don't know, 3 weeks or so, I'll see a comment. I'll see a note somewhere where somebody will say, well, Max has said he's retiring soon anyway. Did I miss something about, did he make some offhand reference that we're all taking as like gospel now that he's retiring?
He mentioned something in one of these interviews where he said, I feel like I'm sort of getting to, it's like Formula One has run its course for me. I think that was kind of his comment. Again, it's the TLDR version.
Sure.
I can't quote him exactly, but he did indicate that, like, you know what, like, I don't see, I think mainly he said, I don't see myself having a long career. And I think he referenced Lewis and Alonso. I think he's kind of said, like, I don't really want to be in it for that long, which is why I kind of think there's other pursuits that he could go after.
Interesting. I think he's going to have to hit a little bit more of a rock bottom, though, than fighting for third in the championship neck and neck with two powerful McLarens. But hey, it's a long season, so I guess we'll find out. I would expect that he would need to be down at the bottom, maybe getting paid by Aston Martin for a couple of years and then bail out. But I don't know. That doesn't. I guess the reason why that was confusing to me, and to your listener, maybe confusing to you as well, is I don't see that at all. I don't see Max letting up at all. I don't see. Maybe he's calmed down a little bit, but he came in pretty fiery into this sport. So Max calmed down is still one of the most competent and aggressive drivers on the track. So it doesn't look like he's even close to being ready to retire. But I don't know.
Also,
but that would be a fascinating turn of events.
I'm not much of a race winner myself. Like, I've never stood on the podium. I've never raced, guys. I'm not trying to say that, but like, I feel like you don't ever get tired of winning, right? So if he has a shot at being on the podium, and he's still got blood coursing through his veins, I feel like he's going to be going after wins to achieve that thing that he's always gone after to achieve. So I think you're right. I think he has to sort of fall off a little bit more, sort of have a less clear path to being competitive to decide, okay, I'm going to do something else.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Alonso is unique for a couple of reasons. Obviously, he's been in the sport for a long time and he's a great driver. But I think there's an unspoken uniqueness there that he has stayed this long past his last championship. It's one thing to stay in your career for a long time and win a championship every couple of years, or Hamilton's getting pretty far out from his last championship. But Alonso's been around a long time since he really was very competitive in a car. And I think that's some of the surprise, right? That inherent surprise of when he retires, everyone will say, that makes sense. I mean, he's got a really long career and he hasn't been that competitive for a while. And, it's time for him to step away. It would be shocking if Max Verstappen stepped away in the next 3 years.
I would be shocked. From where he is. I really do think that 3 years would be way too little time to really see his career run its course. And I mean, I don't know if that's the point he was making that kind of started that thing, that idea that you're talking about him retiring. But I agree with that. I think 3 years. I think Max has 2 more teams left in him. I think he could make a switch to Aston or Audi or whoever, and I think he could have like a stint there, and then he could do like as the grid evolves, he could do something else.
His Ferrari, retirement plan. I think so. I think he's got plenty left. But if he did, it would be one of those things where people would put him in highlight reels for 40, 50 years and say what could have been from the 4-time or 5-time world champion who retired at age 32 or whatever. So yeah, a lot coming there. All right, let's get into the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. What to look for. We talked about it a little bit. Fast race coming this weekend. It is not a sprint weekend, so you have just the one race to look forward to, unfortunately. It is on U.S. time, at least on Eastern Standard Time. It will be 1 p.m. on Sunday, noon Central. Nice evening race, I think, again in Saudi Arabia. Nice fast course. Looks like the racetrack looks a little bit like a bent bobby pin, like
Yep.
a hairpin kind of thing.
Yeah, like one that you tried to like pick a lock with when you were in third grade and you thought it was cool to pick locks.
And you
Something
thought
like
it would
that.
actually work, and then you got stuck in there and got in trouble. Yeah,
Yep,
that's
yep.
the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. It's going to be quick. To be honest, I think my biggest disappointment with both Bahrain and Saudi Arabia is somewhat of the lack of fan support. There are lots of fans, but the tracks don't have that same hype and that same energy as a lot of other races on the course on
Yeah.
the schedule. But it should be a lot of fun.
Agree.
Storylines you're following into this one, Daniel? Mine right off the bat is, can McLaren lengthen that gap? Can they start stretching their legs a little bit on specifically drivers' championship?
Yep. So I want to see how the Red Bull cars perform. Because to me that's the biggest mix up in those top four teams is, McLaren, Ferrari. Maybe Mercedes belongs in the second spot there. McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull.
Yep.
Does Red Bull disrupt a little bit? Are they improving the car? Is Max more or less competitive around this track? One of the things I'll follow through this whole thing is the tire compound. Pirelli has jumped 2 levels of softness from last year. So the hard tire at the 2024 Saudi Grand Prix was the C1. The hard tire this year is the C3. Compared to last week in Bahrain, which is, again, night race, hot track, evolving to cold, etc. I believe that was a C. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Last year was C2 on the hard compound.
Okay.
So C2, C3, C4, hard, medium, soft. This year it's a C3, C4, C5. So that soft tire is a C5 compound. It's a 1 level softer than last year.
More grip, less durability.
More grip, more deg. But versus Bahrain was at the top of the hardness for their compounds last week. And you saw a little bit of like, the teams didn't really know what to do, right? Like no one wanted the hard tire, but the hard tire performed really well. Some of them had the soft tire early on and they wanted to swap it out really quickly. But then at the end, there were really good stints on the soft tires. So I feel like that's going to throw in a different element. And it's a one-stop race typically. There's not a lot of lateral.
Unless your tires all fall apart on you.
Unless your tires fall apart, exactly.
Right.
So if we're going that much softer versus last week, and yet 1 degree softer versus last year, I think there's something there. I think something could happen. Last year, most people pitted at lap 7-ish and then went the rest of the race on the hard. I don't think that can happen this year. I think more of the race will develop early on, and then I think that the pit stops will be, sparse or a little bit, different teams, different strategies. I hope to see some different drivers from the same team on different compounds.
Or you're going to see a lot of what you just said. Everybody assuming they're going to go soft for 5 to 10 laps, swap on a hard, and then switch back to softs for the last 10 or 15. And one car is going to go all the way to the end and get a surprise first place, which would be really fun. That's always exciting.
Yeah, last year Lando one pit stop lapped 37, so 30 laps or so. He basically did a reverse. Instead of doing soft hard, he did hard soft. Didn't work out for him. Didn't really hang in there. Finished a lot lower than he qualified. Piastri even was ahead of him last year in the finish. So we'll see. That's what I'm interested in watching. I think that's going to be a big factor there. Again, does the Red Bull disrupt that top 4, top 3 spot? You saw Max on the podium 2 weeks ago. You saw him not really perform in this type of race last week. So, what are they going to bring?
Yeah, it does feel like this week for me, storylines, tough to articulate, but really that certain teams need to make a decision. At five races in, we're starting to see a trend. And right now, the trend is McLaren is going to walk away from this with first place in 10 more races if we're not careful. McLaren's in the easy lead. There are 3 teams at the back that we already talked about, really 4, Aston Martin, Racing Bull, Alpine, and Sauber. It seems obvious, sort of, kind of, that Sauber's at the back, but the others need to get some consistency. If Alpine's really here and going to be performing, they need to step up and start seeing some gaps grow between these teams. It's fun right now to not have any idea who's going to be second or third in a race, but my main storylines are, to your point, can Ferrari step up? There's a 14-point gap between Ferrari and Red Bull. I'm sorry, I misspoke. A 14-point gap between Ferrari and Max. Can they get some points and get up into third place? And for that midfield, who's going to actually step up and be consistent? If they don't, we're going to see those gaps start growing, and then all of our hopes and dreams for my perennial favorite storyline, Sainz, is going to go out the window because there just won't be enough season left for them to catch up. But
well, as you bring up Sainz, it makes me think of the rookies, because last year, again, back to last year's race, this was Sainz's hospital stint.
Oh,
he
right.
He had his appendectomy. None other than Ollie Behrman stepped into the Ferrari, blew us all away with a P7 finish, right behind Russell in the Mercedes and ahead of Lewis Hamilton in that Mercedes. So that rookie has a few laps around this track. Also, guess who holds not the fastest lap record around this track for Formula One? That's Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes from 2020 or 2021.
I really thought I was going to get that answer right. Okay.
Well, the reason
I don't know.
The reason I'm bringing this up is because guess who has the fastest lap around Jeddah in Formula 2?
Oh, Oliver Behrman.
Jack Doohan.
Darn, I was so close. I thought that's why you set me up with Behrman. Okay.
No, I'm trying to highlight. I want to highlight these two rookies that probably have a little bit of an advantage over the other rookie class or the rest of the rookie class. Behrman in the Haas, which as we know is performing well, double points finish last week. And Doohan in an Alpine, that's a car that seems to be significantly improved
coming off
and
a strong
doing well.
Race. Yeah,
a strong race. It's a similar, nighttime hot race. So
I love that.
To me, that's another storyline that I don't think it gives us much of a change at the top, but you never know. And if Jack Doohan was good around, if he's got that experience in it in Formula 2 and he's head and shoulders above the rest with the fastest lap.
Right.
Not a huge factor here, but it points to some experience. I like to think that Alpine could do well. Plus, in the longer storyline around the rookies, maybe helps them against a replacement at the hands of Colapinto.
Yeah. I think we all, I hope we all want the best for Doohan. It seems like he got a rough start, but it'd be great to see him perform. And to your point, yes, maybe not going to change anything at the top, but the top already, Max Verstappen is the only thing. Well, George Russell's fighting. Max Verstappen and a little bit of George Russell are the only thing keeping any doubt that it's not going to be all orange at the top. So you have to give it to him for that to keep the race alive. Otherwise, we might spend a lot. If we're not careful, we're going to spend a lot of this season watching the midfield and seeing who's going to get 6th or 7th. Well, it's going to be a good race.
I like a competitive midfield. It makes for great races outside of just seeing who's on the podium. I really do like that, and that's one thing I've enjoyed the last couple of years, at least, that I hope will continue even with reg changes next year.
Yeah. If you can't see a fight for first on that last lap, you want them to pan away and show a fight for that last point.
Right.
That's as good as it gets. All right. Well, that's probably it. We're excited. It's going to be a great race in Saudi Arabia. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you get a chance. If you haven't, if you're a relative newcomer to F1, give qualifying a chance. It's a great way to spend a Saturday morning. Log in and watch on F1 TV or something like that. Watch the qualifying, at least the qualifying highlights. Also, a lot of great interviews and conversations that go on around the paddock. So if you get a chance to tune in early and watch some of those, that can be a lot of fun as well. But we'll look forward to our next episode. Will be post-race Saudi Arabia on Easter. They went ahead and just scheduled that. So for those of you out there trying to balance family demands and F1 races, good luck. I don't have any advice for you. Do the right thing, and we'll catch you next time on the Critical Lap podcast. If you're loving it, please make sure you subscribe, like, share with some friends, add a comment, and thanks always to our legendary pit wall producer, Chris P. And we will see you next time on the Critical Lap.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.